Yep. No, I'm fine. I was gonna say, how's your internet there?
Should be good.
Okay, good. We're good to go then.
What about you?
It's fine. Looks good here.
Hmm. Okay, looks like we're live. What's up, everybody? Three people that are watching us. This is another a, another what? Another
Uh,
edition of.
Web Dev Power Hour podcast. I know it's been so long. It's been so long, but we're gonna be back. So this is kind of getting slowly easing our ways back into it.
Yeah, this is
Uh,
just testing the
so
setup. So yeah, so we did a
yeah.
just very quickly. Yeah, this is Web Dev Power Hour. I'm always joined by one and only Mr. Paul Bratlowski himself, from Austin, Texas,
That's right.
and
Where we have the best barbecue ever.
where it's the jiu-jitsu capital of the world, apparently.
Apparently now that's what it
It
is.
is,
It's so
yeah, because you
insane.
have so
Gordon
many like,
Ryan, Danaher, and a bunch of other people. That's crazy.
yeah, you have
You
very,
know.
very good gyms over there. So
Speaking of which, did you start going back to jiu-jitsu?
not
How's that
yet,
going?
no.
Not yet though.
Next
Yeah.
week, next week.
Good, good. Yeah. It's awesome.
Because yeah, we had to move, like we had all kinds of things, so we moved out here, and then of course the apartment that was supposed to be the one that we got, and it's actually turned out pretty bad because
Hmm.
um, little tip: don't rely on the photos that you
The
see on internet.
photos.
They always make those ones look really nice. In reality, they're horrible. And yeah, and then we had the whole deal where like we demanded to be released from our lease. Thankfully, they did
Oh
that,
my
and blah blah
god.
blah. But I mean, they were kind of supportive, so that was good. And then
That's
it
good.
took us another week to find this place, but then now
Yeah.
we're able to actually look at it and everything. So that was really cool. Then the moment we were settled and we thought that, oh, we're ready to
Oh
go,
my gosh.
then we got COVID. So that was
Yep.
another setup. And yeah, and just continue, and now finally we're like COVID free, and starting to set it up. How are you doing? I saw a bunch of work with the remix. How is that working out?
Yeah. Like no, I've been really enjoying Remix. I'm kind of curious to see where Next.js 13 is going. I think they're taking a bunch of stuff from Remix, which I think it's good to have that type of competition to continue to promote like evolution. But speaking of like, how you had your things with the move, so I didn't have big problems like that, but I wanted to delete a bunch of stuff off my computer. And so like normally on my old MacBook Pro, I used to be able to just do like in disk like utilities, just delete, and then you have an easy way to restore. Do not do that on your M1 MacBook Pros ever. It's not an easy way to fix it. So basically I bricked my computer. Thank God I have another one. But everything and every YouTube video I saw on how to recover it like has been not working. And I'm so like upset. And I'm gonna try one more thing, like to try to do it via USB drive, which I'm assuming probably not gonna work either. And then I'm gonna have to go to the Apple store, which I'm like, come on, Apple, you had it easier before, and now you made it more difficult. So that's like my little rant. But yeah, bricked my MacBook Pro, which I was like really upset about.
And then what
But
specifically did you do?
I literally went into like you're able to delete all your data because I wanted to do fresh install because I had a bunch of npm stuff that was just acting weird, and
Hmm.
my SQL server was I just some weird issue. So I was like, let me just not worry about it, clean install. And so I went to disk utilities and delete the basically like the default, like the whatever the where it's stored. And usually you have that secondary like backup restore option where when you reboot your computer you could do like control shift r, whatever the command is, and it's going to take you and make it very easy for you to reboot. That's not the case in M1 MacBook Pros. Like you literally need to have a second computer, and that didn't even work for me. I followed their stupid steps, and now I'm like, okay, I think Apple is just basically like, you do anything to your computer, you need to take it to Apple Store, which is like frustrating, but it's fine. You
Yeah,
know.
speaking of Apple problems, I had something similar, but not like as far as erasing the disk. But when I was moving, so my iMac, the little hinge inside of it broke. You know, when it's like basically standing the monitor. So it just broke, and I decided that I'm not gonna probably spend like 1 hour or 1 month sending in uh, the computer to Mac because that's what they want. And instead, I just bought some like on Amazon. You can get like a whatever some guys just selling like 3D printed like hinges, and
Yeah.
you can just hook it up and everything
Oh,
works fine.
sweet. Nice.
Yeah, but I was
Yeah.
like thinking because I'm not giving them the computer for 2 months, and then it turns out that it's missing or whatever. Yeah, that's
Yeah.
not an
Yeah.
option.
So I don't know. I'm almost like, as I have two MacBook Pros, I'm like, I should just sell one. Like, what do I need two for? So,
Hmm.
anybody wants to buy a MacBook Pro, hit me up at codingafter30@gmail.com.
But did you have like stuff that's really really important? I don't know,
Well, it's
some.
gone now. It's gone now. Like, I erased everything. So luckily all my projects were on GitHub, but I was a little bit upset because I was working on a Koa uh, API, and I just like started implementing like factory functions to generate like all your routes and controllers from like some JSON file, whatever. I was like so happy that I got it to work, but I forgot to commit the changes, which is fine. Like, I remember how I did it. I'll just have to do it again. But I was like a little bit like, what the hell? But you know what? Out of frustration, I deleted everything, bricked my MacBook Pro, and that's it. So hopefully, don't erase your MacBook Pro ever, because you're gonna have hard time. Just fix it. It's such a headache.
Yeah, that's.
It is what it is. But yeah, what you been working on? I know the move's been taking a lot of your time, but what's in the plans for you? What's coming?
I don't know. I'm like kind of deciding. Like again, like I was telling before in the previous ones, you want to record a new stuff, but then the moment you start working on something, then you start getting like some complaints that, oh, this is not up to date and that is not up to
Yeah,
date. So then
yeah,
you need to go back and whatever. At the
yeah,
moment, I'm kind of in between TypeScript and Node.js. I cannot decide which one I want to produce, but
yeah.
the Next.js now came out with the new stuff, so that is like okay. So let's see what's up with that. Are you
I
do you know a lot about it? Like the
No, I
new
think it
stuff?
just came out. I feel like a lot of features are still in alpha, and so
Mm,
like what I would like, I would probably wait on doing stuff with Next 13 for sure. And then like if you do stuff with Next 12, people be like, well, it's old now. Like, everybody thinks that way. But the point is, like, Next 13 is not usable in production yet. There's a bunch of stuff that it just doesn't do. So I would say definitely like Node or TypeScript. Probably TypeScript would be like another good topic. Like, everybody's going that direction. So if you do a TypeScript course, I think that'll be awesome.
mm,
Like, I'm actually trying to get more into TypeScript. But I was going to say, like, people that are interested in Next 13, but like I could do is I could make a video on trying it out, like Next 13 with Strappy, and they'll be awesome, because that way anybody could like take a look, see what features it has, and then be like, yeah, it's not worth it to build production apps with it at the moment. So if you're like using Next and you have stuff in production, like, keep your application the way it is. Don't try to update it. Let people kind of figure out like what needs to be fixed or updated, because it doesn't support all the features, and so like I think there's a good lesson made to don't jump on the newest, hottest thing when it comes out. Wait for people to play with it, test it more before you make that decision. Because I was excited, and then thank God I didn't, because I guarantee you, like, I would break my production website that I have in Next.js if I tried to convert right now.
yeah, that's very interesting. Like they probably have the nested routes. I'm assuming because that's what
Yeah, they do.
they were
Yeah,
talking about before. That's something
yeah,
that
they
they saw.
have. Yeah, they have nested routes and like stuff like that, which is cool. But there's a bunch of stuff like that they haven't implemented yet, and so like I would wait for. And then people, like, obviously, I see in the comments already, love for TypeScript. But I think, yeah, waiting on Next.js, I don't think it's a bad idea. You know what I mean? I know some people be like, we need it now. We need it right now. It's like, relax. Like, you know,
No, but
they'll,
it's the same as like React Router made an update. So they came out with
yeah,
version 6, which was like latest and greatest or whatever. And then of course, next thing you
yeah,
know, there is a update to 6.4, which
yeah.
pretty much breaks. Like, I mean, you can still
Yeah.
use version 6, but it's just they did it uh, the new update or whatever. So now it's totally different, actually, the code. as well.
That's the hardest thing. And this is one thing we talked about this before. We talked about like using the latest node version. It's okay not to be on the latest thing, like, because the most important thing is like you want to have a solid working environment where you could build your apps that you could push to development. And sometimes using the newest greatest things, you're just asking for trouble, because number one, there might be bugs that haven't been discovered, there might be some issues, or not enough people are using it, or whatever. So I'm all about like trying all the bleeding edge stuff, but if I had to put stuff in production, I would go with like whatever is the last version behind. You know what I mean? Just to be safe.
And what about Remix? Are they actually in stable version or still alpha or beta?
I think it's fairly stable. I didn't like really look too much. Like for me, it seems like very stable. Like a lot of stuff you could do. They do a lot of cool stuff, and I think they are in the stable version. I just was too excited, so I didn't even bother like looking into that. I was just like, let me just start building something. So I'm actually building a pretty interesting project with it, and it's working great. And there's certain things that it does really, really well. And one thing that like I found, like even with the changes that Next.js is making, which they are taking some of the ideas from Remix and implementing it themselves, I think it's great. But I still think Remix does certain things better.
Yeah.
But what I would say, for anybody looking to build a production application, for our clients, I would still go with Next at the moment. And like I would use like Next 12, wait for 13 to whatever iron its things out. But but if you already know Next JS and you want to try something else, I highly recommend Remix. I'm building a pretty significant project with Remix, and so like I'm gonna do like a lot of deep dive into Remix. And I just love how you're able to get the data, how it handles forms. Like it literally uses like normal HTML forms, like the way they used to be done back in the day, where you hit submit and all your data gets passed via the name prop inside the request, and then you have
Mm-hmm.
that information.
Mm-hmm.
So like I like that Remix relies like just on your normal like web APIs, where it's not like Next.js specific or React specific.
Mm-hmm.
It's like web specific. So you literally become better at web development by doing Remix. But again, let me be clear about it. Like if you're still learning and you're looking to get a job, do React. And then if you really feel like you want to jump into a framework outside of like the normal Create React app, use Next.js. And once you comfortable with Next.js, like then you could do Remix. Unless like, but if you already have a job, then you could jump in right into Remix. But if you're like looking to get hired, I'd say stick with the things that are popular and supported by like bigger companies. But I do love Remix, and like all my current projects, I'm building with Remix and Strappy, of course. And then I do have one Next.js project to kind of continue to, get better at Next.
Can I ask you some questions about Next.js, because I'm just really not Next.js, sorry, Remix, because I'm really curious, because
Yeah.
I've seen that you have built like tons of stuff and talked to people and everything, and I kind of really want to find out more. So first, like as far as learning, did you do everything from the docs, or you were utilizing some courses that are already out there? Maybe.
What's Yeah, so in terms of learning, there are really no courses outside of what Remix put out. So if you want to learn, like definitely go to the docs. They have their bunch of different tutorials. The one that I recommend start with is like building their jokes like website with Remix. And
Mm-hmm.
they also go have a full video tutorial on that on their YouTube channel by Ken C. Dodds. Like amazing. That's where I would
Mm-hmm.
start. And then also on Front End Masters, they did some Kent did few like webinars, so you
Mm-hmm.
could sign up for that and get that. So that's what, like literally the docs and the YouTube channel, like it'll get you pretty far. And
Mm-hmm.
then it's mostly docs. There's no like courses, and so maybe like based on what I learned, I'm like maybe I'll do like a Remix course, whatever, like on
Mm-hmm.
YouTube. But in terms of like Udemy has no courses on Remix. This is like
Mm-hmm.
so new,
Mm-hmm. And
you know,
so was
in
it?
terms of learning.
Let's say the how steep was the learning curve? Was it really
It's
hard, or you were like, look, like within, I don't know, hour you were like, okay, I'm understanding the main concepts, and now I'm just digging deeper? Or was
Yeah.
it
Like
like,
literally within a day, you could get it because you're actually writing less React, just because the way Remix works. Like I don't use any. I may have like one use state and one like I don't even have a use effect in my whole application
yeah,
because like
because they
instead
do
of like
data fetching differently.
yeah, it's just data fetching on the routes, and basically your state is your data in your database. And so like where you could avoid using state like I do, even for form validation, you could do all that stuff like on the server. Like you'll have to use state if you're doing some UI related stuff. Like, like I have one use state because I have like show my mobile menu is a button
Hmm.
which is handled by state. But in terms of data, like it all comes from the database, which I think is really awesome. And the way they handle forms, the way like if like I would say like for anyone, like I use Next.js and I like Next.js, but for anyone who's making like let's say a corporate website where it's mostly showing data, and you want a very fast way of kind of like building it. Like for me, like Remix, and this is why I got excited to it in the first place because I did a stream with this guy Gustavo, and he showed me the website he built in 2 weeks, and he literally used Remix for the front end and used Strappy for the back end because. And I know you could use any CMS, you could use any headless CMS, but Strappy is the best. Not because
Strappy
I
is the
work there,
best.
but because it's amazing. No, like, but I was thinking about it. Like, it's you can use Next.js and Remix as a full stack like framework, but you're coupling your front end and back end together. Why, if you decide one day you want to switch to a different front end, what are you going to do? Like you're committing to Next, you're committing to like Remix as a full stack. Like, and I'm not saying you shouldn't. Like, it's still good, but for me, I kind of like the idea of having your API and front end decoupled. So for me, it doesn't have to be Strappy. It could be even like your own API that you write. But I like this idea where you have your API separate from your front end, because then you could use that same API to like in multiple. You might have a front end in Remix, but then you might have a complementary mobile app that does things slightly different, but it still utilizes your API. So I like this decoupling. And so for me, I literally go the route like, okay, can this project be built with Strappy, or insert whatever CMS you all like? But for me, it's Strappy. If yes, I'll just do that because it's literally saves 10,000 hours of like trying to build stuff from scratch. And don't get me wrong, like if I can't solve it with Strappy, but it's so customizable, I didn't find any use cases where building an API from scratch makes sense, except for the fact that you want to be a full stack developer and you need to know how to do that. So learn how to build APIs. But going to the market faster, like for me, it's Strappy and Next, or Strappy and Remix, because it's the fastest way to get a project to the market. And the coolest thing about like a CMS is that you have this UI where your content managers could go ahead and like start adding content. So what I like about setting up Strappy, for instance, is you could have your content managers or whoever's going to be using that site, they could start putting content already on their back end while you're still working on the front end in parallel, right? And they don't have to like kind of hold each other back. And I think that's kind of cool. But that's kind of like my thing. It's just I want to build stuff fast. And get it out there. And for a lot of front end developers, I tell them just like use a headless CMS. Doesn't have to be Strappy, just to create good full stack websites where you have all these like huge features, and you could build them as a front end developer and not having to learn extra stuff because you want to go full stack. And like the last like little rant I want to make, like I think getting a job as a full stack developer is really, really hard. You're not going to get it because I was talking to a bunch of people at my company, a bunch of other people, and by nature, full stack is not a junior position, right? And so it's not that there's like, I make a joke, there's no full stack junior jobs. There are like entry level full stack jobs, but the knowledge required to land those jobs, like I wouldn't consider you being, junior. Like think about it, like even like, I know like you, like Mern is good, but like I've seen a lot of people, they're using like SQL databases, but besides the point, like I think it's important to know both. But in like work, a lot of people use SQL. That's something that I want to point out. But Mern is like a very popular thing. Like you have your MongoDB, Express, React, like whatever the other thing is. But think of what you have to know. You need to know a front end. You need to know how to build an API with Express. You need to be comfortable with Express. You need to know how to both deploy the front end and the back end. You have to understand how to troubleshoot that. Regardless if you use Mongo or Postgres, you need to be familiar with the databases. You need to be familiar how to troubleshoot databases, not only on your local environment, but in production. And so for me, just those few things I mentioned, you're already no longer a junior developer because it's such a wide thing. And so for me, like, I'd still say if you're breaking into the industry, go with front end first, unless for whatever reason you want to be back end. Start with back end first, and this whole different learning approach and process. But don't be like, I'm going to be full stack. You know what I mean?
Yes. Don't be full stack.
Yeah, don't go full stack. There's only one path I know where full stack, and they'll say there's junior roles, which again I would argue you're not a junior at that point. But the only learning path where you could go full stack and get hired, the only way, it's ASP.NET and C#, because their whole ecosystem is built around, you're literally like always building full stack application, C# on the back end, and you're doing HTML and CSS and JavaScript on the front end. And their whole platform, like when you build ASP.NET, it's all tied around that, yeah, I could see like you choosing that path and being like, yeah, I'm a full stack developer. But that's like a nicely packaged learning path. And I'm not saying that's the only way, but in my mind, that's the only full stack like path I would go, where I'd say just go full stack. But if you're learning React, JavaScript, start with front end first. You know, like don't try to be like, what is that, like know a bunch of stuff but master of none. You know what I mean? You need to like prioritize stuff.
You mean jack of all trades or whatever?
Yeah. Whatever that people say. Don't be a jack of all trades and master of none.
Yeah, for some reason
there's so much to learn.
Has got this one in one of my comments as far as the courses. Somebody was pissed with my content, and for some reason they kind of out of the blue left that comment, which didn't make any sense to me because everything that preceded in that review or whatever didn't match that first line, and I was like, okay, whatever. So,
yeah, some people are crazy. You just can't keep everybody happy. You know what I mean? Like I told you, I had this one guy like on comments. He's like, "What courses you recommend?" I recommend John Smilga. He's like, "Well, can you recommend any other course by John Smilga?" I'm like, "No," like because in my mind, you make very structured courses, and for beginners who like just starting out, they need that structure and they need that like very step-by-step progression, like when learning things, and you do that very, very well. I'm not saying that other instructors don't have good courses, but for me, the way you teach fits me really, really well. And so when I tell people like, okay, fine, like you don't want to do John's course, which are really good, like go find another instructor, like who makes sense. But one thing like I was going to argue, like also just another hot take, I'm like going on this whole like thing, like don't buy more than 5 courses because you're going to really get stuck in tutorial hell. And I would love to see a challenge where someone goes from your HTML, and like CSS course, your JavaScript course, your React course, and like Node course, and hopefully maybe one day you'll have a TypeScript course. I think that'll be really, really good. And then see if based on what they learn, are they going to get hired? And I know the answer because I literally got hired after your React course. Because everything I learned there was really relevant to what I was doing at my job. And to me, that I was like, wow, that's like really, really insane. So it's like, you don't need many courses. You just need to find like one path. Doesn't have to be like John's courses, right? But could be like whatever courses, and don't take 3 HTML courses. You only really need one. You know what's interesting? I took a look at your course and then I looked at all the other courses on Udemy. They like, all the other courses on Udemy, they basically teach some variation of what you already covered in your course. And so to me, like I was thinking like, why do people buy 10? I've done it, like, but why do people buy 10 Udemy courses on the same subject? It's like taking math level 1 like 10 times. It's like, I would say take one course, do all the projects. And I love your courses because of that. You have a lot of projects that people get to do to a point where you almost get tired of building projects, but you need it for the repetition, you know, to learn the stuff. I would almost argue like just take the course, do all the projects with you, and then build something yourself based on what you learned. And then don't use your previous examples as reference, but go on Google to find stuff, like practice this idea of troubleshooting and finding answers yourself. And guarantee you, like if you literally take John's HTML CSS course, JavaScript course, React course, and you only 3 courses, so that's like, I don't know, like 12 times 3 was it like 28 or something, like something like that, whatever, I can't do math. And build a lot of stuff from scratch based on what you learn, you're going to get hired. Like I'm willing to bet on that. You don't need tons of courses. And some will say, okay, I don't want to take John's classes. Okay, don't take John's classes. Find another instructor you like, but only commit to like 1 HTML course, 1 JavaScript course, and 1 React course. Learn it fully and just build a bunch of stuff. Don't buy bajillion courses. I like thinking back, I know like I'm ranting a lot. I apologize for that. But thinking back, like my biggest time waster was buying Udemy courses and believing in my mind that that's what was going to get me hired. And the reality is you could literally get away with 5 courses total, and the courses will teach you how to learn, but what will get you hired is you being able to apply what you learn by building projects from scratch. And that's what's going to get you a job. Okay, rant done. It's been a while, John. I needed to get that out of my chest. It's been like so long. It's been forever.
Get it out of the system.
John,
I still have questions about the thing.
No, let's go back to Remix. Let's do it. I'm here. That was a really long way of going around it.
We just went away. We went into Strappy, and then we disappeared.
Listen.
No, I agree about those courses. But I mean, you just get that rush from buying stuff. That's how it is. It's the same, like, look.
Yeah, that's true.
Let's bring this back to the exercise. You also, when you start start buying equipment, you think that you're working out. You're not. You're just buying equipment, but it feels like that. When you buy something, you're like, oh, I'm gonna do it or whatever, and then of course it turns out that you're still rather watch TV on the couch. And it's the same with the courses. I mean, I do agree. Like if, for example, my only kind of justification to buy another course, let's say if you finish one, right? So you already finished it, and then you decided, no, look, I just want to go through some stuff. And in that case, I would definitely watch it at like twice the speed, because most of the stuff you already know, you're just skipping through it. And there have been some technologies that just required me more, because there was, let's say with Node, it was pretty tough because there's many ways how you can learn Node. I mean, you can go with SQL, you can go with Mongo, and then the same goes for how you're setting up your routes and everything. So yeah, that one was whether you go server-side render or you go API, and then so that's why it took me, let's say, longer to set up the whole thing. But in general, yeah, I would say one also. So what are you building there with the Remix and Strappy?
So I'm building a platform to, and I broke it the other day, but it's already live. I mean, the thing is not live completely, but it's called devhunt.io. You could go check it out. And it's still, when people see this project, just please understand this is a proof of concept. I'm just trying to get the general stuff working. And so you basically are building a platform for people to be able to work together on projects. So give an opportunity for aspiring developers to work together and have like people follow your projects. You could work together. You could assign issues to them. Basically a place to make it easy for people to collaborate. That's like step one, is get that functionality going. And so I got the registration working. I got the login working. I got some the basic stuff in the dashboard working. But it's still work in progress. But basically I want first create a comfortable place for people to have a place where they could work together, and also to give people like on my community, like, bring them some value. Like, so if anybody who follows me on my YouTube channel will be like, hey, check this out. They have this platform you could use. That's step one. Step two, and this is where things get ambitious, and I don't think I'll ever make it to step 2 or step 3, but I'll share it here. And some are probably going to steal this idea, which is fine, because to me, it's like, you could steal my idea, but if you're not going to build it, you're not going to build it. And if you build it before me, it's like, who cares? Serves me right for being lazy. You know what I mean? But the second part of that is to gamify the learning where you have a score where people like either like upvote your comments, or they see that you're engaging with a lot of other people on the platform, you're helping them out, you're answering questions, and then you're helping them with their PR reviews. And I don't know how I'm going to score this yet. It's going to be a hard thing to figure out, but basically you'll have a score based on how much you help, how good your projects are, and how they're voted by the community. So the idea is, over time, people that involve that community, your goal is to be the 20% of like the top developers in the community and strive to reach that level. And I'm going to call that like you are now hireable. You basically have gotten the skills, you know how to build stuff from scratch, you have this good score. And so that's the second part, is to create that path for you to get to that top 20%. And then the third part, and this will probably never happen because that was already too ambitious of my project. But the third part is to have another place where it's not you log in as a developer, but you log in as recruiters, and they basically get a pre-qualified list of developers that you know could do the work. And so now they don't have to try to fish through a bunch of randoms. They know like, hey, this is a qualified list of people that have done like really, really well. And so let me contact them to see if they will match any one of our job descriptions or whatever. So that's like the general goal and how to do that. But I'm going to keep working. I'm just hoping to get through step one, phase one. And then if phase 2 or 3 comes, that's great. If it doesn't, that's fine. But here's another cool thing I was going to say, because I know you built your job board app, and like this idea, because you talked about it, like creating like software as a service. And I kind of got excited, but you and I talked about this a few times, where people should definitely try to build little SaaS projects. And here's the thing, I was thinking about it, like if it fails, it's still fine. Do you know why? Because you're still learning development. You're still improving your skills as a developer. So it's not like, oh, maybe like your business didn't take off, but you still build a cool project and you learn something cool about coding. So it's like you're literally still learning to code, but you have opportunity to possibly build something that could generate income as a service at one point. And I'm really excited about that.
By the way, people, if you need ideas, go to Paul, because he does have a bunch of ideas. I just feel bad taking them after that and then working on them. So I always try to, whatever he tells me, just to kind of block it out. He told me about this one. I thought that this, by the way, this app that he just showed, he told me about this one. I don't know. Like, okay, we have been off the air.
This is my second iteration.
So 6 months ago, and I was like, yeah, that's a really cool idea. I was thinking like, for the course students to set up the platform where they can share the course and then they can rate each other. But I'm like, no, I don't want to take Paul's idea away. But no, this is really cool. And Tailwind is so slick. It's so slick. It looks so good. I mean, if I don't know, maybe I'll start recording stuff with Tailwind. There's a bunch of classes that I don't know how people are gonna like it, but it looks really, really good, like really modern and everything right out of
yeah. So the secret is like, actually, like I was really slow adapted to Tailwind, and then after having discussions with you, I was like, okay, I'm gonna give Tailwind like a good spin, and now everything Tailwind for me, like unless a client says I need something super custom, it's Tailwind. Yeah.
No, everything is so good. Looks good, and it's very, very, very modern looking. And then you're building all of this live, right? Well,
yeah, I'm building all of it live. The front end is with Remix. The back end was with Strappy, because I literally have no reason of creating my own API. Just because of why recreate something from scratch if you already have something that works really, really well. And so I'm just going to use that. And again, like what I was going to say, like, please don't let people think like, oh, he's telling us just to be front-end developers, but I want to be full stack. Yeah, you could be full stack. It's just a lot more learning that goes and is involved with that. And so for me, like, you could build some cool stuff with, an easier solution to have better, cooler projects while you go full stack. And working with Strappy, because you see the code on GitHub and everything is customizable, I actually learned more about backend development by messing out with Strappy than I did like when I initially started learning Node. Like, it made so much sense to me. But with that being said, like the path that I took, I knew that becoming a full stack, I would probably take forever to get a job. So I just focused on front end. And then I got a job as a front end React developer. And then, only then, once I was getting paid for coding, only then did I start transitioning into full stack. And I've been learning like Node and Koa.js, which,
No, this is something, yeah, we have discussed it basically. If, I mean, normal situation in your production application, you'll have the API that's coming from the server and you'll have the front end. So, as a front end dev, what I like really about Strapi is the fact that it does have that setup where you're working already with APIs. Not to diss on
yeah,
any other CMSs, but you're most likely you're working with some type of basically tool that's already fetching the data
yeah,
for you, which is not going to be the case most likely. You'll just have to
yeah.
know how to work uh, with the APIs, and then that's with the whole deal that you're dealing with APIs and you're interacting with them, and you need to know how to set up a post request, a put request, and all kinds of things, and that's like I keep saying. Yeah, that's how I
And
learned also everything in the beginning.
I was going to say, not to continue talking about Strapi, but literally you could set up an API in 5 minutes. I'm not even exaggerating that. I've done videos where I set up Strapi, and the only reason it takes longer is because I can't type fast enough to like type the commands. But it's so easy to set up, and it's so good. And what I like about it is because to set it up is only 5 minutes. I could quickly create an API for my front end, and if like I decide to change a different idea, do a different project, it's not like I wasted any time building anything from scratch. So just testing out ideas like that alone for me is like totally worth it of like doing it.
And the filter functionality is awesome, by the way. I
Oh yeah, yeah,
tested
yeah,
in
yeah, yeah.
California right before I left. I tested the Strappy for the whole setup. It was
Yeah.
very fast
There's
and
some
slick.
like cool neat tricks about populate. I don't know, like because if you start writing like crazy queries, like, and I
Hmm.
don't know if you use like QS, the query string like thing that you could do.
Yes, I a little bit
That's
messed
the way
around with
to
it.
Yeah, that's the way to do it, because like writing the string yourself from scratch is just could get a little bit crazy. But
Hmm.
there's so much cool stuff you could do, and literally what that populate feature that you talked about does. So a lot of people like GraphQL, and so I love GraphQL too. But now I'm literally using just REST in Strapi, because you're basically, because of that populate feature, you're able to define only the data that you want to return from your API. So you literally don't have that overfetching or underfetching issue that people had before, where they wanted to use GraphQL. So now for me, it's like, before I was like, oh, I'll just use GraphQL for that. And now I'm like, man, like I don't need GraphQL, because the thing that I was using GraphQL for Strapi already solves, like with the, the populate and the filtering that it does, which is amazing. And you could even set up default filtering in the middleware, which is awesome. So you don't even have to do it from the front end of your application, because Strapi is so customizable. It's really awesome. And so now I literally don't use GraphQL. The only thing that I'd say I would use GraphQL for, if I needed to do like federation, where you have a bunch of different uh, data items from different sources and you want to bring it together, and subscription. But I don't have an app that needs that right now. So for me, like GraphQL, just to use it for solving underfetching or overfetching is not a thing anymore. And the craziest thing that I learned in backend development is that there's more and straightforward and easier solution if you want to implement caching with REST than there is with GraphQL. So a lot of like backend developers, they prefer actually to use REST unless there's a very specific use case for GraphQL.
But this is that's lately has been making waves where basically this idea about GraphQL that it's gonna solve everything. The opposite is true. That actually you can get a bunch of stuff done with REST. There's nothing wrong with it. You just need to make certain like updates and certain upgrades or however you wanna call that. I just read
Yeah,
about the Next.js quickly. I just opened it up. So basically, yeah, one of them is the bundler. That now I guess everything
yep,
is going to be much
the
faster.
turbo, whatever.
Yeah,
Yep.
and then beta of app directory. And this is something that I was looking at when I was initially diving through the docs. It already came out that they'll do those layouts, the complex layouts, and now I guess
Yep.
that's already in beta. So yeah, that's
Yeah.
pretty quick.
Nice.
And of course they
Yeah.
have fetch data built on top of React suspense. This
Yep.
is actually very interesting for me because when React 18 came out with the suspense, I was kind of expecting that there's going to be some way how to fetch data right out of the get go, but they pretty much said that it's going to be implemented pretty much by the libraries themselves. And as I understand,
Wow.
the React router 6.4 now is using some type of suspense, and the same goes for Next.js and everything. But essentially, you're not going to be writing your own kind of logic to fetch data with suspense. That it's there, but it's
Yeah.
used kind of
Under the hood. Yeah.
under the hood by some other library and everything. That if you're still fetching the data, that most likely at this point in time, it's still in use effect, unless you're
Yeah.
using React Query or whatever. That's already totally different topic and everything.
Yeah, I haven't tried it yet, but that's something that I think if I were to build a React project, I would use React Query heavily. But like, yeah, and like you're absolutely right. I'm really excited for where like Next.js is going, and I hope that Remix keeps going forward too. Because like I still like certain things that they do better. But Next.js is such a big company that they could literally take every idea Remix has and then implement it. You know, because they have the resources to do so. But at the end of the day, like we as developers, we all like win because we get like all the cool things kind of implemented that we want. And like if Next.js existed without Remix, it's like having only NVIDIA with their video cards, but you need AMD, you need like some competition to kind of push things forward. So I'm kind of glad that's happening.
No,
So I'm
Remix
going
is
to continue
definitely
to
going to continue
yeah, I'm
doing
gonna
that
continue to use
too.
Remix for sure. I'm gonna be like the running joke is actually at my company, and like a lot of people that talk to me now, is that uh, Paul's gonna soon start working for Remix, which is not true. I'm not gonna work for Remix. I love Strappy too much to switch, but that's the joke. Like even like our CEO made that funny joke. It's like, hey, you get involved a lot with Remix. I'm like, yep, it's good. Which kind of sucks. Because I love Next.js, but I think Vercel also sees that I talk about a Remix a lot, and maybe there might be a little bit bias of like being like, Paul, come talk to us about
About
Next.js.
Next.js.
Yeah. No, but this is what people don't understand. It's possible to have two loves. I literally have love Next.js and love Remix. And what I would say is try both and then make a decision based on what you want to use. And when it comes to building things, if you're working on a team, it's like whatever your team loves and able to be productive the best, that's the tech you use. If it's Next.js, it's Next.js. If it's something else, it's something else. But uh, it's like you could be a developer and be on two teams at the same time. It doesn't have to be like Remix or Next.js, like, and now we hate each other. No, I love both. And so to me, it's kind of funny that some people might get that. But I have two projects, codingafter30.com, very small blog. It's built with Next. And then my Dev Hunt is built with Remix.
Okay, so Jose has a very funny joke. Finally, where does the Paul sits to watch TV? Let us see your new chair. Did you get the new chair?
Yeah, this is my new chair right here. Look at this. This is very aerodynamic. It works really well. What I love about it is like when you sit on it, you need to have like very proper posture. Sometimes when I sit, I'll have like a coffee cup, scalding coffee cup on my head just to make sure that I have proper posture, And so, yeah, to watch TV, I just literally don't watch TV.
Looks like you just stole it from some kind of conference. You went to conference and just left with the chair. You're like, okay, this is going to be very convenient in my home.
Like 95% accurate. I'm not gonna confirm the other 5%, but literally a chair I stole, sadly, for whoever's chair that was. But they're not gonna miss it.
Yeah, no,
So
it's
it is
not
what
the
it is.
most expensive one.
Yeah, I think it's like $7 on Amazon, whatever. But I did steal this one. I'm not gonna lie to you.
Shout out to
Um,
Alex, our biggest supporter. And
yeah, we
actually,
need
I want to
to.
ask you, Alex, how I haven't had time to check your channel, but how you been? Because I know Alex started his own YouTube channel, so
That's good.
I
That's
saw
good. You
one.
gotta.
Yeah, no, it's very good. I saw one video, the day in the life of developer and everything, but I haven't seen the other ones. So yeah, I haven't. I didn't have time to check anything. I literally the first day that I sit down normally and I can start doing things. So
Yeah, it's really awesome.
when is the
Um,
Strappy conference? Is there
so the
one?
Strappy conference, I'm not sure when that's happening, which is shameful. I should know these things. But
We'll cut
oh my
this one
God, we have
out.
so
We'll
much
cut
stuff
this one
going
out.
on. No. We got Strappy Cloud and beta. So we're really excited because you know how a lot of people like if you're a front end developer, you're gonna complain
That's me.
about
That
deployment
that people is
deployment you're going
me.
to complain about deployment because you don't have time to learn how to deploy stuff. But the thing is, like, I realized people that don't complain about deployment are the people that basically are full stack developers and they're very comfortable with doing that, or they're backend developers. But for front end developers, we want to have a very easy way. So actually, let me throw the website because there's a waiting list. Strappy.io. Go to the website. There's that cloud. I'll throw it in the link in the chat as myself coding after 30 here. I'll put it, but go check it out. It's really neat, really cool. We do have a waiting list, but jump on it. It'll be fantastic. But it'll basically like I've been playing with it a little bit. Can't talk too much about it, but basically it's very easy to deploy. It's literally like a one-click deploy to the cloud, and then you don't have to
Mhm.
worry about did I do it right? What's going to happen? And that's pretty cool. So I'm really excited about that. And I feel like, since Heroku doesn't have a free tier, and there's a lot of these companies, they are literally eliminating their free tiers. And so it's like, why not just pay for the convenience? And I don't know all the pricing right now for Strappy. I know we're going to have different tiers, but it's like, why not just have one solution where you like don't have to worry about anything? It's simplified the process. And for me, I'm excited at the fact that I will have peace of mind because there's plenty of times that I have broken my app in production, and fixing it, like trying to troubleshoot those issues, is very difficult. And so if you could eliminate some of these steps because you have the like cloud deployment, I think it's fantastic. It'll be pretty awesome.
By the way, speaking of Heroku, just if anybody is interested, yes, it's Heroku is ending the free tier. However, there are two awesome places where you can also get free tier. One is render.com and the
Yep.
second one is Cyclic. And actually, honestly, I today I just tried render, so most likely in following days I'll try cyclic and then no cyclic, sorry.
Cyclic. Yeah.
And then I'll update the all the courses where the MERN course and the Node course where we're deploying it. But I can honestly say that, for example, that render is even easier to deploy and easier to troubleshoot if something went wrong, because it shows you the error that you get kind of
Nice.
locally on the terminal. Let's imagine, right? So you run the Node app. If something goes wrong, usually if I mean, in most cases, you get some kind of error message, let's say in a terminal. And the problem with Heroku was that, let's say you push it up, but it doesn't show the log of like your actual error message. It can say some kind of Heroku code, but it's not going to be, like what is the actual error message? Maybe your environment variable is missing or something like that.
Yeah.
Now with that render, what's really cool, it actually shows you exactly, like for example, again, this was the example where I didn't have, I purposely left out the environment variable for the connection string, and then it right away tells me, hey, this is this
Oh
in
wow.
the error, just like you have locally. And deploying it was much easier if you connect to GitHub, of course. Then it's
Yep.
literally one click and everything. So I was very kind of down when I learned that Heroku is not going to have
Yeah.
a free tier.
Free
But
tier.
now when I checked
You have
actually these
render.
other options, then they are, in my opinion, better. So I might even move my existing apps from Heroku way, because I have
Yeah.
some the ones that I pay, but
Yeah.
I might move
No,
them as well.
render is awesome. I actually like for paid. like render is free, really cool. One caveat I will quickly mention about render: those YAML files, I believe they're YAML files, they could be like temperamental if you don't put the proper tab spacing in. I don't know if you had issues with that, but I had a deploy that kept failing. I was trying to figure out why, and that's because I had a mistake in my YAML file,
Hmm.
and it was not so much what I wrote, but it's the tabbing. I had like one extra tab somewhere, and it didn't work. And I don't know if it's still the case, but that was like one thing I had for me. But outside of that, like if you write the YAML file correctly, like yeah, render is pretty awesome. It's pretty cool. And you're right. And what I like about it, you could deploy both your front end and back end with using one YAML file all in once. Like it's pretty neat. To do, like if you wanted to do that. So instead of like deploying one then the other, you could do it all in one shot.
Hmm. Okay. So no, I pretty much tried something very, very basic. So I didn't,
Yeah.
yeah, I wasn't using YAML yet. But
Yeah.
Alex, share us the link so I can post of your
Yeah,
channel.
definitely. Yes.
Because at
Let's throw it out there.
I like how Alex says he's like it. It has 3 followers and 2 of them are my other accounts. I remember.
No, I might be following your channel. What are you talking about? 3? This better be more than 3. Let's
I
give this
thought that
man some love.
I also thought that I already subscribed, but maybe I didn't. That's why I don't have
I think
the.
YouTube sometimes is just will be tricky. They're like, you subscribe, but we're gonna unsubscribe you, you know? Dude, growing a YouTube channel, I literally like realized that it's way faster to get a dev job than to make money on YouTube. Jesus Christ. Like it took me 2 years to get 100 subscribers.
Yes,
That's
it's
like insane.
trust me.
Insane.
When I learned of my one subscriber, the first one, I was like over the moon. When I saw that somebody clicked subscribe, I was like, I
Yeah,
cannot believe
exactly.
this. It was, yeah, one of the most
Yeah, it's
exciting
insane.
times. So
Yeah, yeah. No, but it's crazy. But I see people who succeed in content creation, and then they literally go into just like this is gonna be my job, and they don't do much development anymore. But to me, like I feel like to get to that level where you're making that type of money from your YouTube channel, you're like winning a lotto. It's like combination of doing everything right, and then the YouTube gods or goddesses, whichever one you prefer, or whatever there is in between. Um, they just shine upon you, and you're able to grow. And do that, like, which is crazy. But for me, I'm like, I'm not quitting my day job. I'm gonna continue to be the developer, whatever, and keep going at it.
I really would like struggle a lot with the ideas for if I would just be running a YouTube channel. I can honestly say that I would probably be overwhelmed, let's say half a year in, where I would
Yeah,
just like burn out because I would be like I have no like idea
yeah.
what to make and everything. So I don't think that I would ever be able to do that. Like just
The
sit on a YouTube
craziest
channel.
the craziest thing about YouTube, what people don't understand, you might get to a point where okay, I'm making more money, but how do you sustain and move forward? Because when you're making content for solely to make money on YouTube, it's not just like, oh, I want to make a video about whatever and it's going to do well. No, you really have to identify what those videos are to continue to make performant videos that are going to grow you that income. So for me, like, I don't want to be a YouTuber where I make money off YouTube. I want to have a business where maybe I talk about what I do on YouTube and use it more of a marketing platform, but not like standalone, let me make money. But, you know,
No, I mean if it's a good way to let's say
supplement.
grow the
Yeah.
audience and everything. I mean,
Oh,
just it's
100%. Yeah.
just really slow. You really need to. There's specific things that seem to be working better than the other ones. For example, it's if you're doing those talking head videos, right? I would never like. I wouldn't be. I would never be good at them. So, yeah, that I would never record them. But yeah, they seem to be doing way better than regular coding because I guess it's more interesting. So.
Yeah, it's like that's all I could do is talking videos, which is funny. Any of my live coding videos do so poorly because no one cares. But when you have an opinion, regardless if it's valuable or not, like people
But
watch those
when
more.
was the last your opinion video? I don't remember.
Yeah, I got to get back into that. But I just recently released a snippet from, like I think like there's no junior full stack developer. That was like my latest video, which it was a snippet from like an interview I did. But yeah, I got to do more opinionated stuff. And somebody asked like to drop my channel name. Yeah, it's coding after 30. Someone already beat me to it, but I'll throw a link.
By the way,
Yeah,
I have
this
to
should be
admit
like
to
coding
something.
after 50 soon.
I have I have to admit to something, by the way.
Yeah,
I'm
yeah, yeah.
usually pretty good at sniffing out like the stuff that wastes your time. So for example, I don't have Facebook, I don't have Instagram, yada yada yada, whatever. I don't have email on my phone and all kinds of things. But I have to say those YouTube shorts are so addictive. You literally like you press on one and
Waste
then
two
next
hours, three
yeah,
hours,
exactly. And next thing
4 hours.
you know, like 2 hours
Done.
later,
Yeah.
you're still like, okay, let me scroll just one more, one more,
No,
one more, one more.
no, it's like
And it's
crack.
just
It's like crack cocaine.
it's
It
exactly
is
like crack
not good.
cocaine. It's
It's
just
not good
like
at
giving
all.
you and plus YouTube is very sneaky that it knows like what channels you're interested in. So it's not just like, yeah,
Those
there's
bastards.
some random stuff as well, but there's like actual channels that you some I don't know have watched half a year ago, right? And it just gives you and just keeps like chicks, chicks, like little like pumps like that. And yeah, so if you don't want to waste your time, don't click on YouTube Short because
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
I can honestly attest 2 hours wasted.
Yeah, I try to consume YouTube like on my computer. And what I started doing with social, especially like Instagram, like I don't use much TikTok. I don't even have, even though like maybe making some interesting content, like no, it's too addicting. And so I literally like delete stuff. So if I want to use Instagram, I have to reinstall the app first to use it, and then I delete it. And I'm gonna start doing it like with YouTube on my phone because those shorts, they take up so much time. Like yesterday, I was like, oh, I'm gonna code a little bit, and then 4 hours later, and like 1,000 cat videos like after, I'm like, crap, I need to write more code. And so I'll write like 5 minutes of coding. So definitely manage your time. And those like shorts, they're designed to be a time suck and steal your attention. So,
And
you know, so if you're watching,
they don't seem like that, right? You think like, okay,
no,
this is not a
no.
15 like minute video that I'm watching on twice the speed or whatever. This is like, okay,
Yeah.
this is gonna be up to 1 minute, and then it's just they
I went to bed
you
at 4 a.m.
keep
last night.
getting
4 a.m. last
sucked
night.
in all the
Why?
time.
Because of goddamn YouTube shorts.
By the
And
way,
there's some of it's like so useless.
this is one of
Like
those.
makeup stuff. I don't know why I get makeup stuff. Like people like making makeup, and I'm like, wow, oh my god, this is so crazy. You went from wow. It's just like whatever.
No,
It's
but I
insane.
can definitely say that this is one of the things that I learned. Like I can actually took away from that book about habits, the habit
Yeah,
book.
Atomic Habits.
Yeah,
That
about the
one.
fact
Yeah,
that
such a good
you
book.
need to instead of like trying to kind of test how strong your will is, you should be doing the opposite. You should be always making sure that it's very easy to make for you to make the right decisions. And this is what I'm talking about. Like you just mentioned, actually deleting the application. So you have to go through these extra steps just to get
The
it
extra
working.
steps. Yeah.
And for me, it's way easier to do that, to remove that application instead of sitting there and then like cold
And then
turkey
try to use
testing.
willpower. Willpower. Yeah.
Willpower
Hell
will fail
no.
you every single time, pretty
Every
much.
time. Willpower doesn't exist. It's very short lived, and it's like you need to create environments that promote good decision making. By the way, I got a treadmill that goes under your desk, and guess what? I've been walking more. Isn't that cool? Like, because I've been trying to figure out how to exercise, and it's like it's not about saying you're going to do certain things. It's creating environments where that make doing that thing much easier, and that's like, yeah, a good point.
I saw that, Trevor. I was about to ask you because I got the standing table and I realized that I hate it. I used it for like half an hour and I was like, nope, this is not for me. I actually like sitting down. Are you okay? Like with the standing table and the treadmill like that?
Yes. So what I do is I'm like same like you, like I love the idea of the standing desk, but how often do I stand at my desk? Probably not often. But what I started to do now when I have like busy work or I'm learning something, like I'll just have the treadmill underneath my table. I walk, like it works out pretty good. It's been like really nice, you know.
Mm. No, for me, like the idea was like seemed like everybody was raving about standing tables, so I was like, "Oh, okay, so let me try it out." And then next thing I know, I'm like, no, I actually like sitting. This just reminds me construction a lot, where I just used to stand and walk all day. I'm like, I don't want to keep doing this. I enjoy
It's
the
funny
fact
because
that I can actually sit down.
I'm
So
laughing because I think I know why I have a standing desk. Because like, have you seen my chair? It's like, who the hell wants to sit on that? It's like I much rather stand. So maybe that's why I got a standing desk. But if I get a nice, no, but I do sit most of the time. But for walking and doing stuff, like sometimes I have tons of emails that I have to just go through and read and delete. So I'll just go for like a 2 mile walk while I'm doing all that non-important stuff. It's good. No, I love it. I love it.
we have one.
And now, like,
Sorry.
I was gonna say, you know how you said like, how do you watch TV? I realized it's all about how I construct my environment. So now, like my treadmill, I could put in front of my TV. So my rule now, if you're gonna watch TV, you better be walking. That's my new rule. That's what I'm trying to do.
But
Be
this is something
exercise
that
more.
by the way, this is something that I want to take credit for because I told Paul that I started doing that in the gym where you go to, let's say, instead of running, you go for a walk on the treadmill and you just put on the iPad and you just watch, for example, a course.
Genius,
This is something
genius.
that is actually very, very good. And if you think about it, I mean, if you're doing double the time, it doesn't matter whether you're running there or
Yeah, yeah,
you're
yeah,
actually
yeah. Long
walking
is still
and
the
you're
same.
doing
Yeah.
two things at the same time.
Yeah,
So
it's awesome. And yes, 100%, that's where it came from, is from John giving me those tips. I wanted to buy a bike, to be honest. I did want to get the bike, but I was like, how would it work with the table setup? Because I actually like sitting and pedaling more than standing and walking, because that's like, you're still standing and walking. But it was like the best investment I made. And that's exactly what I've been doing. Like, kill two birds with one stone: exercise and walk. You know what I mean? And this is one thing I noticed. Like, I hope everybody exercises. And I went back to jujitsu, so I get exercise on a regular basis. But I realized that whatever exercise does for you physically, there's this mental aspect of it that makes you feel less like bad, or like it's like a good pill against depression or about not being motivated. Like when I go for a walk and come back, I feel refreshed. And I think there's this like uh benefit outside of like, oh, it's a physical activity for exercise. I think there's like this mental benefit of it that allows you, because I found out myself since I started regularly exercising, because I took a long break for not exercising. I used to do more stuff that I didn't want to do. Like I would play more video games. So do like whatever, because just the way how I felt. But now that I walk more, there's this like motivation in the back of my mind. Like, it's like, yeah, you could play a game, but why don't you like do something productive? Like, and like, I don't know, like anything else that's pushing that change except the fact that I'm exercising regularly. So I feel like mentally I feel better. And so I feel more excited about like doing like work stuff or study stuff or like whatever.
we have few comments. I got my first job after doing everything these guys recommended: courses, projects, portfolio, LinkedIn, apply. Awesome. It's great to hear
Yeah,
that, Kevin.
congratulations.
Yeah, and then we have couple about the TypeScript. After learning TypeScript, I can't imagine working with JS. I could see that, but yeah, I'm not at that point yet.
For
Uh,
me, I'm like, man, like I just like JavaScript and not have to write all that additional boilerplate. So I love TypeScript. I know the issue that it solves. And I want to say this first, that if you're learning to code now and you finish learning JavaScript, you have to learn TypeScript next, because most jobs now like expect you to know TypeScript. But I watched someone the other day solve a problem by doing extra work because they wanted to have certain types, where I felt like that was an overkill for what they were doing. And so I think it's like being kind of keeping that in mind, that like people could over engineer stuff, but TypeScript 100% is something that you have to learn. And so for everything now, just my own personal bias, I still use a lot of JavaScript, but where I work, if we use TypeScript, that's what I'm going to use. But for me, I still like JavaScript because it allows me to do stuff quicker, you
hmm.
know?
We're actually like over 1 hour, and I think for the
Oh,
first
wow. That's
time
fast. That's
we'll
fast.
call it a day. And
Yeah.
next week we'll figure out which actually time that we'll stick with. Like this was
Yeah.
just pretty much I decided that we need to do something quickly, so
Like,
that's why.
let's test out the equipment and then
E-
give Paul opportunity to talk about Scrappy and about anything else he
yeah,
hasn't
Paul
talked
was
about,
kind
because it's been
enough
a
to
while.
respond. I
No,
thought
no,
that
no.
he's just
I
gonna.
love these. These are great. Regardless how many people we have tuned in, I just love having conversations with you. It's good.
Awesome, awesome. Yeah. So thanks to everyone who showed up.
Yeah,
Um,
thank you all.
yeah, it was an awesome conversation, and we will continue next week. We just
For
will come
sure,
up
for
with
sure.
a time that kind of we will stick with. So
Yeah,
that's
look
about
forward. But
it.
we're back. We're back. I think we're back. It's good.
Awesome. It was awesome
All
to
right.
see
Thanks, everybody.
everybody.
Take care.
See ya. See
Later,
ya.
everybody.
See
Bye
ya.
bye.
See ya.